What's going on, everybody? It's your boy E-Man the Chosen here, and I'm back today with another video. So today I'm going to be going through when I'm running for my Sorcplar this update, and oh my god, this is probably my strongest build that I've ever made. This is definitely my main, and not only that, it's a D-Swing build, which D-Swing is my favorite playstyle to run this game. So it's really fun. I cannot wait to get into it. Big disclaimer, this is not a beginner friendly build. This build does require some skill gap to use effectively, but once you do get the hang of it, it is one of the strongest D-Swing builds out there. So alright, getting straight into our stats. Running 10 points in the health, 54 in the stam. I found this to be the best for my playstyle. I like my health to be around 31k. I don't like my health being any higher than that. Then I just start feeling bloated or feeling like too much of a tank. But yeah, 31k for my health. We are using the Serpent Mundus stone. I found the Serpent Mundus stone to be the best. It's such a stat dense Mundus. You could run the Lover or the Shadow, but if you do that, you're gonna struggle recovery. Maybe run like an infused recovery glyph if you go that route. But I do like Serpent because it's just so stat dense as far as Mundus is. So we are a vampire on this build. We normally use stage 3, which a lot of times will use stage 4 depending on what we're doing. If we're playing a lot of solo play, we will use stage 4. So alright, so getting into the slottable items. So as far as our food, we are using the Bewitched Sugar Skulls. I really like this food for my stam sorc because it's going to give you a nice big health pool, a mag pool, and stam pool. And you know, with the big stam pool, it's going to help increase our damage by a lot. That's kind of the reason why we hit really hard on this build. If you're newer to this type of playstyle, I definitely recommend using a recovery food such as the Orzorga's Smoked Bear Hunch. It's going to give you some mag and stam recovery. You are going to lose a bit of damage, but the mag and stam recovery is really nice. But I'm very experienced in this build, so I don't really need the extra recovery for me. So we are using the tripods. Really big W this patch. You can finally buy the tripods with your AP. So you have to spend valuable resources on pots. And then the other pot that we do use is the immovable stealth detect pot. Those are a necessity. There's still some night blades running around. This also is a nice pot. Let's say you just want to go offensive and not want to get stunned. Just having that immovability is really nice to not be CC for 10 seconds. So sometimes I'll use it, you know, whether it's on a night blade or not. Alright, so now we are going to get into the sets. We're pretty much using the same sets as I was using on my Sorc blade. There's just going to be a few minor tweaks, and I'll get into that later on in the build. So we are using the Vatishran Maul front bar. We are using Sharpened Trait with the Oblivion glyph. I've tried so many different glyphs on this front bar. I've tried poisons, I've tried a lot of things, and I found this just to be the best, just because that Oblivion damage is going to give you that extra burst you need to finish people off, and it's unmitigated. Like, you can't block it, you can't mitigate it. Just nice like flat damage. The Vatishran Maul, for those of you all who don't know what it does, the perfected one gives you some extra stam, which couples really nice with Essence Thief, and the max stam that Essence Thief gives you and the max stam that we're already running. You get 30 weapon damage up to 10 stacks, so that equals 300 weapon damage on your front bar. And then when you can do a heavy attack, you do like a nice little proc of like 6k, so really nice. On our back bar, we're using the Ice Staff Essence Thief, the tried and true. We have a physical damage return stam glyph on this bar. I found this to be the best in the back bar because this procs Sundered. So very strong pin debuff with 3k pin and 100 weapon damage. So for those of y'all don't know what Essence Thief does, when you do a lot of attack on your back bar, you draw a pool from the enemies, like a green pool. You go pick it up and you collect it. Gives you some health, gives you some stam, and then increases your damage by 10%, which is huge. One of the best damage sets in the game for PvP, and I really like how it synergizes with this build. Alright, on the body we are using the tried and true Pariah. Pariah is going to give you some max health, some armor, then up to 10k physical and spell resistance based on your missing health. One of the best defensive sets in the game. I really like this set over Rallying Cry, even though you do have to double bar this set, but it's really nice. We're using all in pin on the body. Remember, you have one piece reinforced. Make sure all your big pieces are the heavy pieces, such as your head, your chest, and your legs, and the rest are medium Essence Thief. We are using a one-piece magma on the shoulder just for the extra recovery. It's really nice. So, but everything else is medium with the Essence Thief, all in-pin, all tri-stats. So here's where the build is going to get very interesting as far as our mythic and the traits we run in our jewelry. And I figured out ways to like do the same level of damage without some of the most meta mythics right now. So so we are using Pariah, which is going to give us a crap ton of armor, and we are coupling Pariah with Markin. Markin is one of the most slept on mythics right now, and I didn't think it would work with Pariah because I was like, man, that's just too much resistance. Like, I don't need that much resistance. And I've also been trying out Monomyth, which that's the new mythic this patch, the one that gives you some crit like major force, which is like one of the best buffs in the game. But what I found was that and I was also trying out Death's Feed just to see that I can squeeze out more damage with retaining the same amount of tankiness, because on this build I only have about 11% crit like at base, and then if I use like my buffs I get up to about 29% crit. That's really not high crit. I found that it was better to stack into more like weapon damage and stuff like that to hit harder, because I'm not really critting very often, so I'm not really benefiting too much out of Monomyth. So once I stacked into more weapon damage, and then I was able to change over my traits to Bloodthirsty, I'm using 2 Bloodthirsty, 1 infused, I found that I was hitting way harder and killing people a lot more consistently. And another thing about Markin is that look at my resistances. This is with Pariah and Markin. This is when we're at full health. I'm at 34k on the front bar, and then when I swap bars on my back bar, I'm at 38k. A lot of you guys are gonna be like, oh my god, that is way too much resistance. Most people know that the resistance cap is about 33k. But what I found was that it's okay to build over the resistance cap, because most people have, it's easy to get to 20k pin when it comes to, a lot of these builds out there. So a lot of people are running very, very high pin. So, so I found that even when they're pinning you, you're still very tanky, because most of the time, when you use, when you're very low health and then Pariah's going up, you get up to almost 50k resistance. And if someone's pinning you for 20k, and your resistance is like 30k, so you're still tanky even versus somebody who has a lot of pin. So I really like Markin for that reason, because it gave you the opportunity to do that. And not only that, some of the Adric Spear passes give you armor. So the Adric Spear armor, the Pariah plus the Markin gave me over the top tankiness. And being able to run 2 Bloodthirsty is actually really, really strong on this build. And I found 2 Bloodthirsty to be the best. I tried 3 Bloodthirsty, but I wasn't liking 3 Bloodthirsty. I felt like I couldn't burst anyone, get anyone's health low enough. But the 2 Bloodthirsty and the 1 infused was the good balance that I liked. Now you do lose healing running taking off infused. So if you want to be super tanky, you can run out infused. You still do decent damage. But if you want to do serious damage, dude, that 2 Bloodthirsty was game changing. It was crazy. You go from not being able to kill anybody to killing everybody. So I really like the 2 Bloodthirsty. And to be honest, you don't lose that much healing. And for those of you all who are wondering, Bloodthirsty does not affect your healing. So I've had people ask that question on streams, does Bloodthirsty affect your healing? It does not. The only thing that's going to affect your healing is infused weapon damage. You're still running weapon damage on those glyphs, so you're still getting some healing. You're only losing about 200 healing. So I found that not to be a big deal. Alright, so now we are going to get into the skills. So we are a base class Sorc, and we subclass Adric Spear. I'll start by talking about Stormcalling. So Stormcalling is probably one of the best skill lines right now in the game. It is receiving some major changes next patch, but I'll go through and talk about the skill line first. So Hurricane is going to be your major resolve buff, and it's going to give you a nice little dot over 20 seconds, and also procs Minor Expedition. Now they are changing this skill next patch. I don't really agree with how they're changing it. They're taking the major resolve off of the Hurricane, which I will talk about other alternatives as I get into the video, but you do have to subclass a different subclass, otherwise you will need to change your build completely. You may have to run like a set like Chuden to get your major resolve, but they are taking the major resolve off of Hurricane. Do I agree with it? No, but do I understand it? Yes. Like I feel like Stormcalling was giving you a lot. It's giving you a resolve, and it's giving you like one of the best movement things in the game, and crazy good passives, like insane passives. But the way they did it, they could have just nerfed some of the passives and, you know, kept the Hurricane major resolve. I mean, this change isn't final just yet. Maybe if you guys are watching this in the future, you may know if it's going to be finalized or not. Right now, of me releasing this video, is PTS week 1, so they changed it to you know, take the major resolve off. But it's kind of hurt stamp sorcs, because some people are not going to run or want to run like a different subclass to have their major resolve. And they did say something about bound ornaments having major resolve, but on the patch notes, the way they worded it, it said that only bound Aegis and the base morph of the bound ornaments is going to have their major resolve, and then the bound ornaments is just going to have major prophecy and savagery and no major resolve. So if you're pure stamp sorc, you won't have any source of major resolve, if that's how this update goes. So hopefully they make a change to this, but if not, I'll definitely go over different alternatives as we get later on in the video. Alright, next skill coming up, we have the Executioner. This is the 2H Execute, one of the best executes in the game, if not the best one right now. Very, very strong. Then we're using Rally. Rally is going to be our burst heal. It's also going to give us our major brutality and sorcery buff. It also gives us a nice minor endurance. So a lot of people like don't understand how to use this skill, and I kind of want to go over it real quick because there's a lot of things to use in the skill. This is a burst heal, but it's not just the on-demand burst heal that you can spam. So the way you want to use Rally, so look, if I use Rally right now, it's only giving me about 5k. If I go into PvP, that's half. It's giving me like a 2k heal, right? So you want to rotate Vigor, Dark Deal, and Rally. And most of the time you only want to use Rally when you have about 10 seconds left, and the less time that Rally has, it's a bigger heal. So you see that heal right there was like 13k compared to like if I spam it, it's like maybe 5k. So on this build, you want to rotate between Vigor, Rally, Dark Deal. Okay, it's just that simple. You know, always pop Vigor first with the Rally and stuff like that. So then we have Wrecking Blow. Wrecking Blow is going to give us, it's going to be pretty much our main spammable, and it's also going to give us Major Berserk. Major Berserk is a buff that increases your damage down by 10%, and it's one of the best damage buffs in the game. So we're pairing Major Berserk with Minor Berserk from Dark Deal and Javelin. We're pairing this with Essence Thief. So when all these buffs are up, you're hitting like 26% harder. So that's going to make your Hurricane hit harder. That's going to make your D-Swings hit harder. That's going to make Javelin hit harder. Also with Aegis Spear, you have the Burning Light passive. That's getting buffed by all those Berserks. So you're hitting extremely hard when you have all those Berserk buffs up. The next skill we have on here is Piercing Javelin. This is the one, my stun. One of the best stuns in the game. You can't block it. Now you can roll dodge it, but you can't block it, and it's very like glitchy sometimes. Like it's a very hard CC, so sometimes like it's kind of hard to break free like right away. But it's a very, very strong skill that goes through block, and it's very, very strong. So the next skill we're using here is Berserker Rage. Berserker Rage is my favorite skill in this game and favorite skill in this build. It's my ult. Basically, when you hit somebody with this ult, you get like immovability and you get armor based on their armor. It's one of the most underrated skills in the game. This skill like makes you control fights a lot of times. Like a lot of people say, like, why don't you use like Aegis Spear? Why don't you use Dawnbreaker? Like this skill right here makes you extremely tanky, and the big downfall with D-Swing is that you can't block cast it. So a lot of times you may take big hits while you're trying to get your D-Swings off, and you know the Berserker Rage kind of takes care of that. So now you could use Crescent Sweep, or you could use Dawnbreaker, but I just think that Berserker Rage is the best ult to run in this slot because of what it allows you to do when it comes to the fights. So, and I'll get into the rotation of how to like use it as well. All right, so now we're going to take a look at our back bar. So on our back bar, we're using Temporal Guard, one of the best back bar ults in the game. Gives you minor protection. I mean, we were kind of already getting it with Javelin, but it's really nice to have it, and it's also a good ult to use, especially if you couple it with Streak and you make some distance with it. Kind of like juke people out, or let's say you're in a keep, you can recall back up, so it's really nice. You got Dark Deal. Dark Deal is one of the best like abilities in the game, in my opinion. It's going to give you a bunch of recovery. Pretty much single-handedly can carry your recovery. So when you use it, it's going to give you some health back. It's going to give you like a burst of stand back. Also does a nice little passive stand recovery over a few seconds. It's also proccing Minor Berserk and Minor Force. So it's really nice paired with SSD. Then we're using Elisus. Elisus is our major breach. It's a free skill. You can use it on anybody. It procs some of the strongest status effects, being Burning, Chilled, and Concussed. Burning is like a nice little fire dot. Chilled is when someone can take, like, they get minor brittle and they take more like crit damage. The Concussed is like minor vulnerability. So it's really nice, and that makes them take like 8% more damage. Really stacked skill for this ability to be free, and it's like last 30 seconds. So we have Vigor. Vigor is going to be our heal over time. Going to give us a nice hot, and also increase our resistance by a little bit. So it's really nice paired with this setup. And so yeah, next skill we have on our bar is Streak. Streak is going to give us, or I'm using the ball lightning. So I do, even with how tanky I am, I still find myself needing this skill because the projectiles hit really hard, and a lot of times this has saved my life, get me out of sticky situations. It's also a nice snare removal as well, so we don't even need like a snare removal because of this. So just use Streak and we do that as well. So really nice skill. Damage is extremely high this patch, and I find myself still needing to use that even in the middle of a fight. So alright, so we're using, for our scribe skill, we're using Contingency. We have a scribe for shock damage. We have the Gladiator's Tenacity, and then Major Prophecy and Savagery. Found this to be the best combo. I like the reduced damage you take by 8%. It's kind of like a mini major protection somewhat. So it makes you super tanky on top of already being incredibly tanky. And we still do a lot of damage. A lot of times I'll use this in my combo to kill people, because that shock damage does hit really hard, especially if it crits. I've hit people for 10k contingency sometimes when I like use it in my combo. It's actually pretty crazy. So alright, so now we're going to talk a little bit about these skill lines and the reason I chose skill lines, like as far as the passives. So as far as our passives, that's what kind of make the build. You kind of have to think about the passives when creating a build. So starting with Storm Calling, when we look at the Storm Calling passives, so the first passive is Recovery. You're getting a base 141 recovery, which is really nice in a passive. You get 5% physical and shock damage, so that's literally right up our alley. We do nothing but physical damage. You get 10% damage done based on like how an enemy's health is. So it's pretty much like a free essence thief that pairs very well with all the percentages damage that we're stacking. Then you get 100 weapon and spell damage for each ability that's slotted. So the strength in Storm Calling is really in its passives. Shriek is a very strong skill in Hurricane, but the strength in Storm Calling is passive. So I wish they would have went the route of nerfing some of the passives instead of actually nerfing the skills. So but we'll see. So Dark Magic, in order to use Storm Calling and Dark Magic, you do have to be base Sorc. So with Dark Magic, it's a crazy sustain line. You get reduced cost of non-corp combat ability, so it's like an Imperial passive pretty much. And also this passive here is really nice, and when you cast a Dark Magic skill, you get a 3k health burst heal. So pretty much when I use Dark Deal, if you see that here, you see there's two heals. Look right there, that was 8k, 5k. So every time I heal with Dark Deal, you're actually getting 2 heals, which is, you know, a lot of people don't really realize that with Dark Deal. It's such a strong skill. So it's giving you so much health if you can get it off, of course. The next passive I want to talk about is the persistence passive. So pretty much after you block, your next ability costs 18% less. This is one of the most strongest passives when it comes to sustain, especially if you're really good at blocking and tap blocking. A lot of times I'll block like through, like when I'm using my combos or like getting my buffs ready, stuff like that, and everything will cost less coming out of block into your offense window. The last passive I want to talk about is exploitation. I mean, you get minor prophecy, which is really nice. It's not too much, but any nice little damage passive is nice. So I mean, see, we get up to 29% crit with major prophecy and minor prophecy up, so nothing crazy. So but that's kind of the reason why I didn't like monomyth, because I only have 29% crit. You really want to use monomyth like when you're at like 40% crit. That's when you really notice it, but if you're not, then yeah. All right, so getting into Adric Spear, you have 12% crit damage and then 12% damage done to blocking players. Really nice passive. So we do some crit damage on this build, but not a lot, but it's nice to have that extra passive and extra damage to players. So with this passive, you're getting minor berserk, minor protection on both bars. Basically, when you use an Adric Spear ability, so pretty much the only Adric Spear ability I have is the Javelin. So anytime I use Javelin, I'm getting minor protection on my front bar, which is really nice. So the next passive I want to talk about is Burning Light. This is probably one of the most broken passives on this game. So anytime you deal damage, you get stacks of Burning Light. So if your Hurricane ticks, your D-swings, your light attack, you get Burning Light. So it pairs very well with this build, because this Burning Light tick can tick for like 5k. So you got an AoE tick of Hurricane and Burning Light going at them while you're hitting them with D-swing, proccing major berserk, which takes this class's damage over the top. Like, it's actually crazy. I'm really surprised they didn't touch this skill line. This is the strongest one. And you also have just a passive 6% weapon and spell damage buff, so goes very well with SSD, major berserk, minor berserk. Like, just really good for damage. So really strong passives, and the whole reason why I, you know, subclass mostly just Plar to my build to add more damage. So alright, so now we're going to get into the CP. So as far as my blue tree, I'm running 2 offense CP and 2 defense. So the 2 offense CP that I'm using is Deadly Aim, Mastered Arms. As far as the defensive CP, I'm using Resilience and Duelist Rebuff. I think Resilience is really good this patch, since especially we're not using Rallying Cry, so you do need a little bit of crit resist. There's a lot of crit builds out here. That's what's really like kills you the most. Those fat spec bows and those mechanical acuity builds. Duelist Rebuff also just really nice against dot builds. But Duelist Rebuff is a flex spot, and oftentimes I do put on Cleansing Revival, just because there's also a lot of Geralt users. There's also an influx of Power Band and Reliquin users, and Cleansing Revival is a really good counter for those Power Band and, you know, Reliquin users. It's so funny because a lot of those people swear it's not for duels, but that build is 100% for duels. So a lot of times I will run a Cleansing Revival. It's really nice. It's also just nice if like people stacking a bunch of status effects on you, and you can pretty much cleanse them all off you like for free pretty much every 24 seconds. So that's kind of like the weakness of this build. It doesn't really have like too much counters to like crazy dot builds. But yeah, so getting into the red tree, we're using Survival Instincts, Pains, Refugee, Fortified, and Balanced Vitality. The flex CP I would say is Fortified and Balanced Vitality, so you could swap Fortified for Sustained by Suffering. You could use Relentlessness, or you could use Juggernaut. So I've been testing a lot of different damage mitigation CPs, and Relentlessness does give you the most mitigation because it does give you major protection. but it only lasts 3 seconds when you get CC'd. Juggernaut lasts 6 seconds when you're on crowd control immunity, and then Fortified, it's just 2k armor that's up 100% of the time. So I kind of, and I've also just learned how to block a lot, so I've actually benefited out of having Fortified over the other major protections, especially since we're already using a lot of percentage mitigation through like our scribe skill with Gladiator's Tenacity. And I feel like a lot of the percentage mitigation, you know, you start getting diminishing returns if you start building into them too much. So and all right, that's about it for the CP. I guess I'll go ahead and cover the green tree. A lot of people want to know what I run in the green tree. Oh, the secrets in the green tree, right? Nah, but it's just mostly quality of life stuff. Just got War Mount, Gifted Rider, Steed's Blessing, and Sustain in Shadows. Just 100% quality of life. Doesn't affect PvP whatsoever. But it is what it is. So, all right. So now I'm going to get into. So a lot of you guys know that the Storm Calling is changing next patch. We're losing our major resolve next patch, so I've kind of been playing around with other skill lines to, you know, get that major resolve back, and I'll go ahead and get into that now. So the first build we have here, I've actually subclassed Shadow in place of Adric Spear. With the Shadow skill line, it's a solid defensive skill line. I mean, you get some recovery, you get some pretty cool skills like the Refreshing Path, which is going to give you a lot of recovery. And you also get access to our Fear, which is Mass Hysteria. It's also procs a very strong debuff, such as, you know, Major Cowardice. And then you're getting some 15% recovery, getting some, you know, passive Major Resolve from using the skill. So you last like almost 20 seconds, depending on your heavy armor. And then, you know, pretty much 100% uptime if I'm using my Shadow skills. And then you get some max health, and I can still use contingency. So this is probably the way I would have it right here, so I can have even health on both bars. Will it be as strong as my Sorcplar? No, it won't, but it will still get the job done. And then you can also like change your Mundus from the recovery Mundus to make up for some of your damage. I would probably go with Lover. I normally use a Serpent on my Sorcplar, so probably use some Lover. And like put on a sharpened maul as well, just to really help amp that damage up, because you're losing a lot of damage from, you know, dropping the offensive skill line. That's kind of, you know, the power of this build, is to run, you know, some offensive skill lines. And another skill line that I've been playing around with is the Soldier of Apocrypha. That's the skill line from the Arcanist. One of the best defensive skill lines. It's really, really good. Here's my setup right here. Let me switch to it real quick. So Soldier of Apocrypha, very, very underrated defensive skill line, has a lot of buffs. So when I use my armor, my resistances go through the roof. Not only that, you passively get minor evasion, which is a nice buff as well from AoE attacks. So the Crux armor lasts about like 30 seconds. Not only that, you get 3k extra armor when you use it. Then the stun, the Rune of Colorless Pool, you're getting minor vulnerability and minor brittle. It's kind of funny, minor brittle really isn't talked about a lot. Like, somebody taking 10% extra crit damage is a lot. So and then for our they take a lot of damage, and it's really nice with SSD with minor vulnerability as well. And this is done, you can't dodge. We're also using Persilient Burst. It's the Soul Magic Scribe skill. You could also just keep Hurricane right there if you wanted to, but it's a pretty cool skill if you want to keep your Minor Expedition and do some additional Oblivion damage. And it's really nice, but Hurricane could also just be better right there as well. And then, you know, when we put all our buffs up, have a vigor and all that going, like our resistance is 36k on the front bar, and then like what, 39k on the back bar. Like, it's absolutely insane how tanky we get when we run that. But if I were to subclass this skill line, I would probably drop Pariah and run like a damage set like Shattered Fate or Shield Breaker, or hell, even Ancient Dragon Guard. just to hit really hard. But I do think that Adric Spear, the Sorcplar, is the strongest build that I have here. Just because Adric Spear is just so strong. You get 6% weapon and spell damage plus 6% armor. You're getting a passive like Burning Light. You're getting 12% crit damage and damage against blocking players. I'm surprised this skill line didn't get touched, but alright, so now we're getting to a little bit of the rotation. So first things first, always make sure you have a rally up, pop your Hurricane, hit a Dark Deal. I like to pop a Contingency, light attack into LD Sus, and then switch my front bar and start light attack D-swing, light attack D-swing. Once you get their health low, hit them with the Javelin to a bunk and to an execute, just like that. So a lot of times you can hit someone with the Javelin because they can't block the Javelin, and a lot of times it's a guaranteed combo, like with the bunk, like pretty much hit them for full damage when they can't block. Or you can also just hit them with the bunk before you Javelin them, so either combo works. A lot of the good players will break the Javelin combo really easily, but a lot of times you can catch a lot of people off guard by hitting the Javelin before you bunk, so it's really nice. So yeah, that's pretty much the rotation. Now we're gonna get into an actual fight. Alright, so first fight we have here, we got against Wolfsaurus Rex. Really solid player. I think he's using like React Faster style. Like his build reminds me of React Faster's build with the whole Rally and Cry mechanical acuity. He's got the Luxor subclass with Adric Spear and the Warden, but it looks like he has like a different variation of the build. So yeah, so what we're gonna do, just gonna break down this fight. You know, you see he's still hitting me really hard, you know, even though like I have crazy amount of mitigation and stuff like that, so I have to still play evasive, you know, with this amount of mitigation I have, because these builds out here nowadays hit extremely hard. So what I'm doing right here, I'm just kind of like stunning him to get him off me here. I'm just puckering him up with light attacks using my Contingency. My combo is Contingency into D-swing into a Javelin, and hopefully I can get his health low enough to like finish him off with the execute. That's kind of what my whole goal is. The whole time I'm keeping the pressure up on him. I'm always light attack him like with my back bar ice staff, like between every skill. Going over my Essence Thief, picking it up, hitting that Javelin. I hit him with a bunk right here. He had a nice block on it, but we do Javelin him to CC him, but he does do a good job of like breaking the CC and roll dodging. So a lot of good players will do that. They'll break the CC really quick and roll dodge to follow up. I mean, that's kind of what you want to do after somebody javelins you. Otherwise, you're going to be taking a lot of damage while you're sitting there on the ground. So here, we both let our health get low. Sometimes to finish people off, you kind of have to like go for it. We both kind of went for it there. Didn't work out, but I quickly popped the pot and popped the rally to get my health up. I noticed he was going offensive, so I was trying to see if I could stun him and see if I could like catch him slipping or something like that. So that was kind of like my goal. Didn't really work out, but alright, so here I proc my Contingency. Gonna hit him, keep hitting him with the D-swings, light attack, D-swing. Here, he hits me with a stun. I'm gonna instantly break, kind of like block, pop a rally, and hop a bigger into a Dark Deal. That's pretty much from rotation. That's pretty much how I keep my health up, is make sure you keep that rotation up. As soon as I do that, I'm gonna proc Contingency, the D-swing into a Javelin and to an execute, and it does so much damage. Crazy burst right there, almost like a like 20k burst right there. So GG to that guy. And yeah, alright, so now we're getting to our next fight. I got two guys chasing me here in IC. Now I see a lot of comments on my channel, and a lot of like, you know, comments saying like, oh, you can only X bots, oh, you can only, you know, this build is only good against bots, stuff like that. So I'm gonna show you like what I do against, like, you know, these are two like above average players who are like attacking me, and they're like chasing me around. So and I see kind of sweating me down, stuff like that. So what I'm doing, I'm just kind of like, I'm trying to pick my opening. I'm trying to like decide who's the squishiest players. So I'm just kind of like filling them out right now. I'm just kind of like trying to put some damage into one of them to see like who's taking the most damage. So here I am. I'm always just heavy attacking on the back bar with ice staff. That's the strength of ice staff, just to heavy attack from back bar. You can proc your SSD from range just to get some extra stam. These guys are still chasing me. I've got my targets on this dude because he was taking a lot of damage. Like that D swing took almost half his health, and even right there, I almost get him. So I almost like got myself. I pop a pot, you know, and then keep moving. This guy is gonna keep coming for me. I'll take a lot of damage again, and these guys procking his ward script on me. So I'm just gonna keep running around the corner. He almost catches me with a bow right there. Glad I proc my contingency to take a little bit less damage. I'm also really low on resources, so I'm gonna do here, I'm just gonna like this heavy attack on the back bar, like while I pop my vigor and pretty much get my resources back, and kind of pop my rally to keep my resources topped. I'm gonna go for it on one dude. I did hit the bunk on one, so I can't be CC'd. He tries to run from me, but we do finish him off. So now here's the last guy. This guy actually stops attacking me, and he tries to run away from me. And I found it kind of funny how people will they'll 2v1 you and then they'll start running from you. So it's really funny, like once you take their friend out. So I'm not letting this dude get away. You know, if you gotta finish what you started, bro. So he's over here running for his life. I'm not gonna let this dude go. So hit him with the Elu Sus into D swings. We were hitting him really hard. He's going to die here if he doesn't do something very soon. So what he does, he procs that water script and gets stunned, charmed. I'm not really worried about it. Now he procs a sword and board because he thinks he can get away from me, but now we're going to TC him into a bunk. That was the combo I'm talking about, the javelin into a bunk, and they take full damage. It was really funny. He was another guy, I don't know what he was doing. I think I couldn't attack him. He was like, I guess he came from the spawn. So this dude right here, we just hit him with a javelin. I just get lynched up and he just goes down. So GG's. All right, so now we're gonna get into the last fight here. This is like a 1vx. I got in a keep. Really nice clip. And these guys kept coming out the keep, and I just kept fucking them up. So this guy, I proc a contingency into a javelin. He goes straight down. This guy caught a little bit of the AoE. He was low health, so he goes down. Notice the guy was radiant me. I'm gonna swing back out. I'm gonna streak into my essence thief, and I'm gonna start. I hit a bunk on this guy. He's gonna try to CC me, but he can't because I can't be CC when I use bunk. We're gonna finish him through the negate. So right now I'm running low on resources, so just kind of heavy attacking, procking my essence thief. I'm also really low on resources, so I'm just gonna heavy attack and start like streaking away and get into some line of cover. So I noticed a lot of people are starting to come out to keep, so I'm just gonna make my way up here. This is like my zone, so there's a lot of people on me. I'm gonna try to finish one of them off here, but I ended up getting CC'd, and a lot of people pulled up, so I just streak out of there. I'm gonna wrap around. I noticed one of the people's health is weak, so I'm just trying to like find out which one is weak. So hit this guy, hit him with a few executes. I don't go for the kill because I'm taking a bow ult, so I'm just kind of moving around. This guy right here, I'm gonna run around, collect my essence thief, and then hit a bunk right there. Can't be CC'd, so now I'm in control of the fight because I can't be CC'd. So I'm just gonna go around one by one and finish the people off, as you know, as I see their health get low, and as I see like you know who's taking a lot of damage. So this guy, he's trying to res, so I'm just gonna like weave in and out to bash the res. This guy right here is taking a lot of damage. We do CC him into an execute. This guy's gonna keep trying to res. Yeah, we just hit him with a nice D swing. He's gonna try to run to the corner. We just finish him off with a few executes here. We try to streak up the stairs, but it was kind of unathletic. And this guy right here just holding block. There's another guy in stealth out of nowhere, so I want to proc my contingency into a bunk, and we do finish one guy off, and then we finish the other guy off. This guy, he's seen all his friends go down, so he's gonna run. So I'm just running, chasing after him. I don't know where he went. I almost have a stealth attack pot ready, but we do find him. But he's just gonna take off. I try to CC him, but I end up hitting the stairs. I almost got him. He keeps roll dodging, and he's gonna just run back inside. So, but yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it for most of the fights. Nobody else comes to attack me, so they just start running away. So. Alright guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. If you like these longer form videos, I'll definitely start posting more of them. But yeah, I will see you all in the next one. Peace.